Streaming. Alright, stream has started. Give me a minute to add everybody. Streaming. Alright, stream has started. Give me a minute to add everybody. Alright. I don't know why it says chapter 7 still. I might have to go back and fix that. Started. Give me a minute to add everybody. I killed that, otherwise I'm gonna repeat a bunch. Okay. Yeah, I did that yesterday, or not yesterday, I did that last Tuesday, and I almost crashed the audio. Alright. Today we are going to be going over Chapter 8, User Interface Design. I'm going to try to flip back and forth between Discord, so if you have any questions, that's the place to ask them. Alright. So, this is Chapter 8, User Interface Design, in case you're following along in the book. There are 10 things in the book to creating a good user interface, and we're going to go over them. The first one is create an interface that is easy to learn and use, and I think that can be boiled down to using common design across all of your modules, clearly labeling, allowing users to correct their errors easily, and using a familiar shared visual language. And when I say familiar shared visual language, I mean if you're in your space and a certain image means a certain thing, then you can use that image to shortcut a sort of information to your users. And a sort of general knowledge type of this would be using the symbols for toxic, if a material was toxic. Let's see. Enhance user productivity. There's multiple conflicting things in the book as to how you should lay out your menus. Whenever we lay out menus, where I work, we always do A/B testing, where we build out multiple things and see what the users like more. You can also utilize time-saving features like input prediction. A good example of this is whenever you Google something and it puts up the words that are most common. And if available, utilize natural language features that allow users to type commands. You could think of this like a chatbot. A lot of websites now are getting chatbots for different uses. Let's see. Provide flexibility. Offer several methods to accomplish tasks that make the default easier. So a personal use of mine for this is I play Magic the Gathering online, and I buy cards using mass entry instead of going in one at a time. I just dump my whole list in. And that's one of the methods they have for buying cards that make it easier to buy. Am I still on camera? Okay. Do I have any questions so far? Otherwise, I'm going to keep going. Okay. Provide users with help and feedback. Ensure help is available on demand. Include contact information to relevant departments. Require user feedback before data deletion. And let the user know whether the task is successful or not. So the first two is just about being able to get help whenever you are unsure on a list. A lot of times you'll have hover over helps on inputs, and um, sorry. The third one is requiring user feedback before data deletion. That's just good practice. It's making sure that whenever they say to delete something, it actually deletes it. Like if you've ever deleted a social media account or a streaming account, it asks you, are you sure? That's to make sure accidental button presses don't delete an account. And let the user know whether a task is successful or not. That's especially valuable if you're doing something with e-commerce. If you don't know whether or not something was purchased beforehand, that could be catastrophic. Let's see. Create an attractive layout and design. Use appropriate colors. Avoid gaudy and bright colors. You can look at websites from the late 90s that have this problem a lot, where it kind of hurts to look at the screen. Use special effects sparingly. A special effect here or there is good, but you don't want that to be what's keeping your user's attention. Keep the screen uncluttered and maintain sufficient white space. If I had all my text all jammed up, it would be a lot harder to read it. And it would, not just physically, but you would almost not want to read it. And use consistent terminology and patterns. If you say something one way in one part of your design, say it the same way in every part of your design where possible. Enhance the interface. The starting screen should allow users to navigate the system. I'm sure all you guys have used, or a majority of you guys have used Visual Studio. How it has different suggestions for how to start the program as soon as you start it. That's a good example of this. Add shortcuts to allow experienced users to utilize commands quickly, like Control-N to create a new file or Control-O to open a file in a lot of editors. Utilize appropriate controls, including checkboxes, radio buttons, and list boxes. Not everything has to be a text box, and some things are way better if they're not text boxes. Focus on data entry screens. Where possible, duplicate known source documents and forms. What that basically means is if you are creating a form to get the same data as a physical piece of paper, try to make it the same as that physical piece of paper. So people who are used to using the paper will be used to using your form. Provide users with examples of input required. You'll see this a lot in input boxes, how it has grayed out example text. That's basically what that is. Use a default value when a field value will be constant across forms. If I fill out a form and I put my address, at least have the option to use my address from the previous form. This is like whenever you fill out the form on Amazon to buy things. Let's see. Use validation rules. Ensure that the fields in your forms contain reasonable and valid data. There's several ways to do this. You run it through regex to make sure that it only has the characters that you want it to have. And you should know what reasonable data is on your forms generally. If somebody puts an age above like 110 or 120, that's probably false. Let's see. Manage data effectively. Ensure that your data is gathered as close to the source as possible in a method ensuring the least amount of errors. So basically, don't have your user input the data manually through a keyboard if the same data can be gotten through a picture or through scanning a barcode. That's actually why cashiers mostly use a barcode scanner, is to increase speed and decrease errors. Reduce input volume. I think this is the last one. Input only necessary data and only input data when necessary. So you only want to ask for the data that you need to do whatever it is that you're trying to do, and if you have that data already and can pull it from your database, it's better to pull it from the database than to ask the user for it, unless you need to verify it. But then you can just verify that that's the correct data. That protects you from being a target when people are trying to hack companies for data. I think that is all of my slides for this week. Does anybody have any questions? All right. Well, if nobody has any questions, I'm going to be in Discord for the next hour, and please log into Discord and comment. That way I can fill out attendance. Thank you. Have a good day.